Today I am going to take a class on the neoclassical period. Neoclassical period is one of the most significant periods in the history of English literature in this sense that it is in fact one of the longest periods in English literature. Neoclassical period started in 1702 and continued up to 1798. So this period lasted for a long 96 years. Neoclassical period is also named with some other, titles. Neoclassical period is called also pseudo-classical period. This period is partly called also Augustan period. So in this way, this period is actually termed. Neoclassical period is regarded as the period of prose and reason for the dominance of prose type of writing. During the neoclassical period, there was actually the influence of the classical writers. Classical writers mean the writers of Greece and Rome during the classical period. And as the neoclassical writers mostly attempted to follow the classical tradition in their writings, and therefore this period is actually known as neoclassical period. Some critics had also given their opinion that this period is actually the classical period in England. So if we talk about the characteristics of the neoclassical period, then we will find some distinctive trends or traits during this time. One important characteristic is that the neoclassical writers followed the classical traditions in their writings. Another important characteristic that we find during the neoclassical period is that the neoclassical writers focused on the lifestyle of the upper class society. And that is why, it was believed, or it is believed, that the neoclassical writers confined their writings mainly to the drawing room of the rich upper class people. And the neoclassical writers also used, difficult words, bombastic words, which were not understandable, in fact, to the ordinary people. Actually, neoclassical writers believed that, or there was a belief like that literature is not or was not for the ordinary people. People of standard level could only understand literature. And that is why the subject matter, language of the neoclassical writings were confined to the taste of the upper class society. One significant event that had happened in the neoclassical period is the Industrial Revolution. And that Industrial Revolution had brought about a significant influence or significant change in the literature of the neoclassical period. And we have got the influence of John Dryden and Alexander Pope. John Dryden was still alive, and Alexander had a very dominating position in the earlier part of the neoclassical period. And during the neoclassical period, intellectualism had also developed. And the neoclassical writers tried their level best to talk about something which had been the maxims of the contemporary period and also of the later period. During the neoclassical period, the most significant thing that had happened was the innovation of novel. Novel was in fact innovated during the neoclassical period. Daniel Defoe had written Robinson Crusoe, and it was believed that Robinson Crusoe was actually the first novel, though it was not a very successful one, but it was the first novel in the history of English literature. And later on, Joseph Andrews and Tom Jones were written by Henry Fielding, and these two novels were very much significant during the neoclassical period. And Richardson had written his famous novel Pamela during this period. Many critics believe that Pamela is the first successful novel in the history of English literature. And during the neoclassical period, there was the growth of satire. That is, the satiric type of writings were, very much prevalent during the neoclassical period. And along with satire or the satiric type of writings, there was the development or the innovation of the mock heroic poetry or mock heroic epic. The Rape of the Lock of Alexander Pope was a significant mock epic in the neoclassical period. And Death of the Favorite Cat or Dunclear were also the significant types of writings during this period. And another important thing during the neoclassical period was actually the allegorical type of writings. There was the religious allegory and the political allegory. Gulliver's Travels of Jonathan Swift was also written during this time, and this Gulliver's Travel can be considered to be a remarkable allegorical type of writings, and at the same time it is also believed to be a destructive satire. During the neoclassical period, dictionary or the lexicography was also compiled, and the first successful dictionary, Johnson's dictionary, was also found during this time. Letter type of writing, the letter type of writing could be the pitch of literature, and that had been found during the neoclassical period, that the letter type of writing could become the pitch of literature. And the first periodicals were also, published during this time. There was the publication of periodicals by Edison, and the name of that periodical was actually The Spectator, which was also found during this time. And Richard Steele had also published another periodical named The Tatler during this time. And Dr. Samuel Johnson had also written criticism. So we have also got the publication of the criticism. Preface to Shakespeare is believed to be one of the significant literary criticisms during this time, which was written by Dr. Samuel Johnson. So actually, during the neoclassical period, there were many distinctive characteristics. There was the transitional type of poetry, and there was also the mystical type of poetry. William Blake had written many mystical poems during this time, in which we have got the flavor of religion and the message of religion, religious message to the readers. And the precursors of romantic poetry were also found during the neoclassical period. At least we have got three poets who could be considered to be the precursors of romantic poetry. One was Thomson. Thomson had written 4 remarkable poems based on 4 seasons of England: summer, winter, spring, autumn. And it was seen that poetry can be based on only the description of nature. So, Thomson can be considered to be one of the precursors of Romantic poetry. And another one was Thomas Gray. Thomas Gray had also written many poems. His poems were actually marked with the representation of nature that had been followed by the Romantic poets later on. And William Blake, who is mainly considered to be the precursor of the Romantic poetry. William Blake had written songs of innocence and songs of experience, in which he had reflected that literature can be based on juicy words or juicy language, comprehensible language to all classes of people. So actually, we have got the differences in the attitude of the earlier neoclassical poets and the later neoclassical poets. The earlier neoclassical poets were very much, confined to the difficult words selection of the upper class society, but the later neoclassical poets had attempted to liberate poetry from the upper class to the ordinary class of people. So actually, these are the characteristics of the neoclassical period, and we must have to remember that there was actually the innovation of science. James Watt and Stephenson had innovated steam engine and the railway engine during the neoclassical period, during the 18th century. That had actually developed the lifestyle of the people of England during the time. And that could be considered to be a great influence in the lifestyle of the neoclassical people as well as the literature of the neoclassical people. So I think if you try to follow my lecture from the right beginning to the end, it will be possible for you to understand this neoclassical period, the neoclassical, literature, the characteristics of the neoclassical period, and you will also understand why this period is called the period of prose and legend. Thanks to all of you for your patient hearing.